Welcome to our session, our build session, Uplevel Your Map Icons. Two of us will be delivering the session today. Myself, I'm Greg Banneker, and I am a product marketing manager for our Maps org. And I'm also joined by Mira Ala-Kantti, who is a senior product manager also on our Maps org. Before we get started, I did want to go over just a few housekeeping items. So, first of all, this session is being recorded, and recordings will be available to all registrants once the session, or excuse me, once the event is complete. So they should all be up at some point next week. We had 60 sessions this week. It's Friday, we are getting towards the end, so most of them are complete. You most likely did not get it to all the sessions, maybe even didn't get to some of the sessions you wanted to, or you can also go and check out recordings of the sessions that you attended. I know, like in some of the builder sessions, we had a lot of code on the screen, and there will be some code on the screen today. It's probably pretty difficult to really analyze the code, while we're live in the session. So you can go back, pause the recording, see what's actually written there, and that's just like one valuable way that you can use these recordings. For this specific session, captions are available in multiple languages. You can see an image on the right there. You can click that captions icon in your Zoom bar and see what languages are available if you would like captions. You can submit questions through the Zoom Q&A feature. I'll be monitoring the Q&A. That's a button also on your Zoom bar. You can see an image on the bottom right of this slide. If you do have a question, please try to ask it in the Q&A. That's where we look first to get questions answered. Some people have been using the chat, and that really is fine. We just may not get to it in the chat. So if you have something important you want to ask, use the Q&A. And then finally, you can discover any of the remaining build sessions at mapbox.com/build, or just go to the build Zoom lobby that you've been accessing these sessions. Like I said, we are getting to the end of the build event, but there still are sessions planned for the rest of today. So you can go ahead and go to that link and check out what's coming up. And with that, I am going to move us into the content of our session, up-leveling your map icons. So in this session, we want to show you some ways that you can extend the design and usability of the Mapbox base map POIs and your custom POI data to drive a better user experience and even positively impact business KPIs. So to do this, I want to tell you a brief customer story and then describe some ways that you can up-level your icons. Then my colleague Mira is going to demo for you how to make this happen in your application. To wrap things up, we want to give you a little sneak preview of some additional icon capabilities we'll be releasing soon, so make sure you stay to the end of the session, and then we'll have time for questions. Okay, so let's talk about Tripadvisor and the real power of great icons. So when Tripadvisor came to us, they had one goal, and that was to build the best map for travelers. So they knew that they had a competitive advantage in the travel marketplace, and that is their Tripadvisor guidance. So millions of people leave reviews on their site, which gives Tripadvisor an immense amount of information that they can aggregate into like very reliable travel recommendations on things like what's the best restaurant to go to, or what tourist sites can't be missed, or what hotels are great for families, etc. If anyone here has used TripAdvisor, we know that it's really like those specific details that really make the site useful. But they didn't know exactly how to effectively leverage this competitive advantage physically on their map. Like, how do they reflect their travel guidance in a way that is like easy to understand and easy to navigate on the map? So icons were one of the primary ways that we ultimately helped them solve this challenge. Like with the design flexibility provided by Mapbox, TripAdvisor was actually able to transform their static map POIs into interactive, information-rich map pins. The pins now include text labels, they include ratings, if you can see on this slide. They even include like a TripAdvisor Traveler's Choice Award insignia, where applicable, if a restaurant or a tourist attraction actually won an award. So these new map pins are able to intuitively surface the unique and valuable branded guidance and insights that TripAdvisor offers, and they're able to show it directly on the map. Additionally, their old pins used to hide places inside numbered clusters, and it would leave travelers trying to guess like what was inside that cluster. So they replaced that system with a smarter system where pins shrink in crowded areas but remain identifiable and show the density of what's in that area. So as travelers zoom in, they expand to reveal that valuable guidance that TripAdvisor offers from the community and reveal those ratings and awards in the icons. And you can sort of see that prioritization here on the GIF on the right. Um, you can also see how TripAdvisor is using color and icon design to differentiate different POI types, like you know, a restaurant has like a spoon and fork, or a hotel icon has a bed. They also have different icons for like their insignia, their award insignia, or like a heart to show that it's been liked. And it helps the icons show information and also stand out from the underlying base map. So after rolling out the new pin design on their nearby map, which is a portion of their mobile app, TripAdvisor saw travelers spending more time on the map and in the app in general. In fact, engagement with this map and with the icons jumped by 70%. And actually, 3.5% more users were booking experiences after exploring the nearby map with the new design and icons. So this is like a real tangible story of how icon design and utilization really help drive business metrics of like engagement and bookings leads to direct revenue. So with that, that story and taking some of the things that TripAdvisor was able to implement on their map, let's talk about some of the ways that you can up level your map icons. So I'm going to introduce each piece of functionality, but then I'm going to pass it off to Mira afterwards, and Mira's going to go ahead and demo how you can actually do this yourself on your map. Okay, first and foremost, we heard how TripAdvisor created a system of pin prioritization where pins shrink in crowded areas but still remain identifiable. And then as travelers zoom in, they expand to reveal more information. This is called pin prioritization, and this can help declutter a map and make it more readable at certain zoom levels. It can also serve the type of information you want to give your users when they zoom into the map. So, for example, the assumption when a user is zoomed in further onto the map is when they're really going to engage with it and try to find their information. And so you may want to prioritize like the most well-rated or the most personalized pins as they zoom in. Adjusting icon color is clearly a simple way to draw attention to icons that you want your users to see. So you can have certain colors represent certain icon types to differentiate POIs, or you can use icon color to help build a more branded map that feels like it fits within your application. We recently released the ability to edit the icon background type and color right in Studio for Mapbox Standard, our 3D base map. Um, The TripAdvisor icons that you saw in that story are actually called multi-part icons. So in this case, it's like the first part is the POI type icon, like the camera for attractions or the bed for hotels. Then the second part of that icon is like the TripAdvisor specific guidance, like the ratings bubble you see here or the TripAdvisor awards logo. So this is this multi-part icon functionality. It is a more advanced icon design strategy that Mira is going to touch on in the demo, but multi-part icons are a very effective way to, number one, make your icons stand out on the map, but all and look unique, but also like really convey that important information that you want to show your users, like the rating or, like the heart for liking information. Just another quick customer story. Amplify builds applications for live events, and one part of those applications are highly detailed 3D event maps, and that's what they use Mapbox for. They use unique icon design to make sure that event goers can easily find places like at a concert, like the bathroom or the food stalls, and of course, like make sure that they can find the main stage. So using Mapbox Standard or 3D base map with these unique icons, Amplify actually saw a 350% increase in customer map interactions at these large events. So it's another way where they're making the icons stand out on the map. They're making them recognizable, and then customers are interacting with them. Another cool story. So adding interactivity to your icons is a great way to deliver essential information to your users. So Watch Duty allows users to click on a fire icon for more information about that particular wildfire. So they're making this icon highly useful by adding interactivity to it and then serving up, much more detailed information. Just a little side note that I always like to point out for Watch Duty as well is they clearly use a custom icon design, this flame, to help create like an on-brand map and make it very clear where wildfires are. They also adjust the size of the icon based on the severity of the fire. So they're using this cool design, but still highly functional icon. Polar Steps also enables their travel planners to click on icons for more information about attractions and also to add restaurants, hotels, or attractions to their itineraries. For them, you can see this quote. I won't read the whole thing, but for them, being able to interact with icons is like a major piece of their user journey and like one of their major value propositions for their travel planners. Another icon functionality or feature I want to talk about is that Mapbox recently introduced landmark icons to the Mapbox standard base map. These are a set of beautiful, stylized landmark POI icons that complement the custom designed 3D landmark models, which are on the standard base map. So these new landmark icons give users location context at a glance because they load at the lower zoom levels. So it immediately provides like a more intuitive and immersive map experience right when the map loads. Landmark icons can easily be added to your map in Mapbox Standard. What you're looking at here is the Tripadvisor map and how they are using the landmark icons. But they also are great just to customize your other custom icons, and you can build interactivity into them as well. Here you can see that landmark icons are helpful in orienting a navigation route within a city. And then they also definitely add like this premium look and feel to the nav map. Here you can see a fitness or outdoor application could visualize landmark icons to help users plan a scenic run. And then also like once the route is completed and recorded, which is what you're actually seeing here, the icons help visualize like a particularly memorable route, and they just create a more interesting and shareable map, like that could be shared on social. The final thing I wanted to mention before we head into a demo is clustering, and we won't be showing this today, but if you did attend any of our MTS sessions, you definitely saw clustering. But if you have very large point data sets, you may be using the Mapbox tiling service to tile this data and make sure it renders performantly on the map. So if you're not familiar with this, clustering is the capability to combine multiple point features into one or more larger points called clusters. And so developers can cluster their tile data directly within MTS recipes. I am sort of maybe promoting MTS here. There are other ways to cluster. But specifically with MTS and big data sets, clustering is an important feature. So this eliminates the need to pre-cluster your source data or rely on like an older tool like Tippecanoe to create clustered tile sets. This clustering allows you to group your data at low zoom levels and not risk dropping or missing points of the data because the data set is so large. It also saves you time and streamlines your workflow because you can do it directly in MTS now. And if you do implement this, it will improve the initial load time of your map, and zoom and pan will happen more performantly. And yeah, because you're just loading all that point data into the clusters as opposed to trying to visualize it all on the map at these lower zoom levels. This is a quote from propertym.io, but they load like literally the huge amounts of data across several countries in Europe. And before they were clustering, the map was loading slowly, points were dropping. If you wanted to like, you know, uh, pan to another country, it just was not happening performantly. And with this pretty simple MTS tile set, excuse me, recipe, they were able to cluster their data and really transform the user experience as something that was performant and just felt a lot more easy to use. Okay, and with that, I'm going to stop sharing and pass it off to Mira, who's going to demonstrate a lot of what we just talked about.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Greg, for passing the mic. And let me just share my screen here. All right, and now you should be able to see the demo. And what we did here is that we wanted to build a demo that combines all these multiple different ways how Mapbox can support you in upleveling your icons and building these informative and interactive pin experiences. And as you can see here on the right-hand side, what we can also do while I'm sharing the demo and talking about it is access the demo yourself. We have links for the GLJS and also the iOS example of this demo. And I trust our moderators that you can add the links into the meeting chat there so that everybody online can also access this great demo.
Yeah, Mira, I just added the links to the chat, so everyone should
All
be.
right. All
Oh,
right. Thank
actually, I
you.
only did host and panelists. My bad. Here we go. I'll get into it right now.
Okay, now please do share also to others than hosts and panelists
Yep, yep.
so that everybody can access. Yeah, but as I said, we do have this on GLJS and on iOS, and we will be also sharing the source code for this demo so that it actually works as a very good way for you guys to get a kind of a head start and get to building these sorts of experiences yourself really quickly by taking that source code and then customizing it to fit your needs. But for this session, I'll be sharing here on the right-hand side some of kind of simplified code examples of how we built the demo, going through the choices that we made and the key benefits that they have for the developers and for the end users. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive straight into the demo. And right now, as you can see, we're on a lower zoom level. And why is this? Is that I also wanted to kind of first highlight the landmark icons and how they help us orient on the map and kind of go a bit more into detail on how you can enable them on the map. So what you can do to actually enable the visibility of the landmark icons as they are off by default is to go into Studio into your style, and then there's a configuration to enable the landmark icons, or then you can just use the property to turn on the landmark icons actually. So those both use cases are pretty easy to do, and then you have the beautiful landmark icons on your map. So show landmark icons on runtime is at completely possible. But then when we zoom in to get the visibility to the custom pins, we can see them appear on the map. And let's say we are planning to visit places near the shard, so that helps us orient and already quickly go through where we want to be on the map. And here we actually already had a question in the QA regarding how we implemented these icons. So what we did here is that we used the symbol layer to do this. And the reason for that, the main reason is that this data set is quite large, and we have, you can see that we have quite a heavy number of these pins. So the symbol layer actually gives us a really good level of performance, so that the map remains quick and easy to use. But of course, the symbol layer does have other benefits such as filtering, clustering, dynamic styling. Plus, I mean, it works just really well with our Mapbox style specification. So those were the key things why we opted to use the symbol layer. Of course, if you have a more kind of a simple use case, or you have some very specific style requirements, HTML markers can also work for you. But some of our future improvements also do rely on, are tied to the symbol layer. So that's why also we promote using the symbol layer here when possible. And then we can hop to the kind of first code example. So as with Tripadvisor, as you can see, we took somewhat of a similar approach here to control the map clutter. So instead of using clustering with the icons, we decided that we want to show the users the distinct number of POIs, but at the same time control that sort of a visual experience so that it doesn't become overwhelming. And so what we did here is that we decided that we divided our POI data into 3 layers. And this basically creates kind of a hierarchy of information and ensures that we provide the right level of detail at the right time, ensuring map priority and also tying to the icon design itself, where some of the icons, as you can see, have a more prominent size, some of them are minimized, and some of them are this medium size. And if you look at here, you can see these three layers are POI high priority, POI middle, and POI bottom. And with this data set, what we used is a field called reality score that then we use to define the cutoff for each level. And for example, here for the high priority POIs, we want them to appear at the map on higher zoom levels. So we use a filter and a step expression then to achieve this. And then this guarantees that our high priority top tier POIs remain visible and that we have a good amount of them visible on all zoom levels that we want. And then we had a very similar approach on the middle level POIs. And then on the bottom level POIs, these are the kind of general points that are always visible to ensure that we do have that data, but then covered up or superseded by these higher priority layers when they appear. And then what this enables us to do is basically progressively give more details once you zoom in. As you can see, once you really zoom in, all of these pins become actual pins instead of the minimized versions, and you get an appropriate amount of information at all zoom levels. All right. And once we have kind of concluded built this sort of a POI prioritization view, then we of course want to make them interactive. And actually, in the beginning of the year, we released our interactions API to make building these sort of interactions a lot easier when you want to bring your map to life with interactions. And to use this API, what you will need to do is define these interaction handlers for events like click or hover, so that you can target specific map layers or feature sets in standard style or the entire map. But then when the user interacts with the handler for that feature, kind of with the map features that belong to these sets, then the API will then appropriate the interaction handler for that specific feature that it was interacted with. So it's a lot more targeted than listening to a generic click event on the entire map and then basically just, I don't know, checking if a feature is clicked. So a much more straightforward and targeted approach to creating interactions on whether it be with the base map elements or with your own custom content on the map. And as you can see here, the example of this, we use the target with the layer ID being high priority pins, which means and ensures us that actually the handler only fires when a feature from this exact layer is clicked. And with this approach, we can generate different types of interactions, such as opening a POI place card. Let's open up one. We'll be talking a little bit more about this later on. But then we can animate the camera so that it focuses our angle on actually centering to the POI's location. And as you can see here, the second part is actually highlighting the underlying 3D extrusion in the building with a specific color that really enhances the customer's capability of understanding the exact location of that pin. And the way that we enable this is actually first we query the nearby rendered buildings and target the specific feature set that is buildings in standard style. And then we highlight it by setting the feature state to be true, which then in turn triggers a style change that we've defined in our style sheet, which is that upon that, this building will be highlighted with this blue color. So this is a very, very good way if you're, especially if you have something that's, for example, more real estate driven, as we have here on the second tab. If you want to see more of like building locations, then this becomes even more important if you want to know where a certain building is. Yeah. But this is a quick intro also into the Interactions API, which can provide you with a really, really straightforward, structured way to create these sort of interactions. And now let's look at a little bit more about the appearance level of the icon. So how do we enable customers to really understand their own interactions with the map icons a little bit better? And here, as you can see, we can have a situation where, hey, I'm browsing through the different pins on the map. I want to check them out and see the descriptions, interact with them a lot. And this can easily become, because there's a lot of content, this can easily become a little bit difficult if we don't know which pins we have interacted with. So basically, we would end up in a situation where we have to remember which pins we've interacted with, or then what's the most probable option is that, well, we would basically end up in a situation where we open up the same pin multiple times. So that's what we actually want to avoid by having a persistent visual state for these visited POIs. And that's what we've done here. So basically, we have a simple logic here that says like, hey, if we're tracking the visited POIs and saying that if an point of interest has been visited, we use this lighter blue color. Otherwise, it's the standard blue. And the visited logic here, basically, it just keeps the list of the visited locations when a user interacts with a point of interest. We added the ID to that list, and then we check. The map checks if each icon ID against that visited list, and if it has the ID on the list, we will color it with the light blue. And actually, what we do for this specific feature is we leverage the vector icon support that we also released during this year. You can also find more information about it in our examples. So how do we use custom vector icons? They really empower you to do a lot more runtime styling and changing the colors of the icons. So they are really useful in that sense and help customers remember where they've been and how they have interacted with the map. Yeah, and next up, let's say that we have now taken a look at many different sorts of POIs, and we've decided that, okay, hey, some of these are actually really cool. I'm not ready to make a decision yet, but I want to save them as favorites. So here you can see what happens, which is similar to the Tripadvisor example. where you get these sort of heart badges. And as you can see, the other high priority pins also have badges of their own, which are these, as Greg mentioned, these multi-part icons. And here we have the ratings, and here we have the hearts. How we decided to implement this is actually, it's an interesting story that also highlighted a kind of an improvement need for us that we are definitely starting to take a look at. What you can do, what we did with this example, is that we used one symbol layer where we have a different sort of variable for each different type of badge icon combo. So it's very useful because it allows us to use these specific icon combos for different kinds of needs, different kinds of data, but it also can become a little bit overwhelming if you have a very, very large set of different sorts of icons with badges. It can be a little bit where you have to at first upload all the different variables. So that's a known caveat of this approach. But even though we have quite many different kinds of icons here, we still found that at least for this project, this was not anything that was too hard to achieve. Then the other approach with symbol layers would be to use two separate symbol layers, one for the badges and one for the actual icons. And with this, it can work really well if you have kind of a limited data set where the data is not where you don't have a lot of pins really close to each other. But where the caveat with that approach is actually the collision between the icons, because of course they need to be able to collide. So you need to disable the automatic collision detection that symbol layer has. And that then can result in some, if you have like dense pins, that can result in some unwanted collisions happening on the map. So those are the two caveats. But as I said, this is something that we aim to improve. So maybe stay tuned there as well. Yeah, but looking at this specific implementation here, how did we do the dynamic styling? We used the set layout property call, and this is how we tell the map basically to change how the layer looks. And what we're targeting here is the POI layer, and again, here using the case expression that acts as a kind of a conditional statement that asset is this point of interest in a favorite. If it is, then we tell Mapbox to use this special icon with this combo. And we're actually building the icon's name dynamically by taking the original name and just adding underscore favorite to it. And this lets us have a separate pre-designed icon for these favorites. But yeah, in essence, we're basically telling Mapbox to dynamically choose the icon image based on whether a POI is favorite or not. And also, as Greg stated, this is a really powerful way to give the customer the ability to visually remember personal preferences and keep them kind of stored in their application. Yeah, and then another example that's actually now a little bit different in the mobile and in this demo. So I think it's good that we can go through both. So here you can see that the pin in the GLJS version, the pin icon changes. So the approach is very similar to what we have with the icon appearance changing in the favorites one. If you want to do this, that's of course very well possible. This gives a kind of a this sort of a pin shape gives even more detailed information about where the pin is located exactly. But if you want to go another way and have a little bit less variables with your icons, you can also go to the route that's detailed here in the code example. So basically making the pin more prominent upon interaction. So scaling up the properties such as POI, like such as icon size and text size, so that the icon becomes larger when interacted with. Yeah. Then up next, we can look at the actual POI place cards. Some of these some of these informations can be really useful for you, no matter what type of map you're building, because enabling customers to really immerse themselves in the base map and get in the map and get a lot of data from the map directly can really be useful in driving that engagement. And as we saw in the Tripadvisor's use case, that engagement often then can turn into the actual results and kind of get those KPIs moving when your customers are spending more time on the map, becoming more engaged and more likely to actually take the steps that you want them to take. So let's look a little bit at the details of how we built this. So we use progressive loading with our Searchbox API integration. And this is how we get the details here that are in the POI place cards. And this is actually something that we're currently and continuously improving on, so that you can see that some of these, for example, have even pictures. And this is something that we want to enable for our customers so that you can get access to a more rich data set of POI data. But yeah, so what we want to happen is that even if you're on a lower end device, which I'm currently not, so it's not that visible, but we don't want the customer to have to wait for the API call to happen before seeing any information. So what we're actually doing is that we're immediately opening kind of a basic place card that holds the actual kind of data that's already in the map feature data. But then when the place ID gets updated, we make the actual call to the Searchbox API to get the more comprehensive details. And then we just update the content to populate the place card with all this new detailed information. And with this function, what it does, it kind of just takes the complete data, updates the UI, replacing all the basic information, and then filling it up with the more detailed information. And what this gives us is a kind of a best of both worlds. It gives us really quick responsiveness so that the customer immediately sees something, but then it also gives us smooth and a kind of a asynchronous fetch of detailed data from the Searchbox API. And that's how we have built the place cards in a way that's quick and responsive for the customers. And then as the last thing, let's look at these filters that we have here. As you can see, if you have a rich POI dataset, you probably want to enable your customers to not only search for specific POIs, but also narrow it down if you have some sort of a categorization information that you can use to do that. And as we do have that, we have created these filters to kind of dynamically be able to filter the map. So let's say that I only want to see some restaurants on the map. What it does is by using the set filter, we can dynamically change which features are actually visible on the map. So when these selected categories indicate that a customer has chosen a specific category, like a restaurant or a bar, we apply this filter. And then with the expression, we're verifying if a POI's category is on the list of these selected categories. If the answer is yes, the POI is shown. And again, if the answer is no, then the POI is hidden. And for example, as there's not a lot of specialty shops, we can see that by selecting that, we get quite a lower number of results then. All right, I think that was a quick run through of the key features and functionalities here in our demo. And we're hoping that once we get the source code shared to all of you guys, you can also use this demo to really quickly uplevel your icons and build these sorts of very interactive pin maps in your own applications. All right, but with that, I'm gonna stop the screen share and give the mic back to Greg to talk a
Thanks.
bit about our upcoming and interesting new improvements.
Yeah, thanks, Mira. While I get that set up, I'm gonna go off script here, and we did have a couple questions that I feel like maybe we should just answer right now while it's top of mind. What type of images are you using for the icons in that demo? Like the spoon and fork, for example. Are they SVGs?
Yeah. So these were the vector icons, as we said, so SVG icons.
Cool. And then how did you get the star ratings to show on the icons?
Roman, do you want to answer that one? Well, I mean, we used the type property to generate them. Actually, these for the demo reason, these were randomly generated, I do believe. Or actually, was it so that at least the hotel prices were randomly generated? The ratings we might have had in our data.
Cool. We brought Roman to the front stage. Roman, if you want to answer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Mira said. So in the real world, you probably would want to fetch like ratings from somewhere. But for this demo, we did generate them somewhat randomly. Well, they are stable for a session, but yeah, they don't represent like real world rating.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Roman. Let's maybe one more. When you click, I'm not sure if this was already answered. I'm just going to read it. When you click on the heart icon to favorite, it put the heart on the map near the POI bubble icon as a favorite selection. Is that favorite selection saved somewhere permanently, or is it just temporary and will it be lost once the browser is closed and then reopened?
For this
Uh,
demo, it's not saved. Oh, Roman, go ahead.
uh, yeah, I was just going to say the same.
Yeah, yeah. For this demo, because we don't have any logic where you can log in and save this to a trip. So this is just something that is, if you refresh the page, then that information is not saved. But of course, if you have a more complex, for example, for Tripadvisor, if you have a user that's actually has a user ID and more robust system setup for acknowledging who the user is, then of course you can tie that uh, to the user and then have that information stay after closing the map as well when you're relogging in.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more questions. I'll breeze through the final part of this presentation, and then we can get to those questions. All
Yeah,
right, so
I'll quickly touch to the questions. There are a couple of questions in the chat
mm,
about the sharing of the code. We're doing a little bit of a polishing, but we will share this code very soon, and we will be sharing it. Let's make sure that we especially send it to kind of highlight it to everybody who's been asking, but it will be accessible to all.
excellent. Okay, so yeah, to wrap up, we wanted to just showcase a couple new icon functionalities that are coming soon, and they're called appearances and animations. So these weren't specifically demoed by Mira, but these are coming soon. So the first is icon appearances. So this empowers you to bring fast and seamless symbol changes right in the style, eliminating the need for platform-specific code when you want your icon properties to change with like a certain data input. So these appearances can be used to convey crucial business information. For example, like some things that you're seeing on the screen here. You could maybe show the level of charge available at an EV charging station by changing the appearance of the icon from red to green. So, like the underlying functionality here is just changing the appearance of the icon, but it does kind of, visually appear like it's an animation, but really on the back end, you're just changing the appearance. You could change the appearance of an icon to delineate if a restaurant location is opened or closed, for example. That's the middle example you see here. So like I said, this isn't quite icon animation. It's just changing the appearance. However, we are also introducing icon animations. And these will be a preset collection of animations that are just going to make it really simple to essentially to add movement to your icons. So again, if you want to look at some of these examples, you could enlarge an icon upon click or hover, like to indicate that it's been interacted with. Like this is the icon where we're serving more information or the icon that was clicked on. You could pulse an icon. You can see that towards the left here. You could pulse an icon when someone is nearby to maybe draw attention to the existence of a restaurant or a gas station or an EV charging station. So yeah, we're introducing these preset animations that are just going to make it really simple to bring them to your map. I just have one other example here. So this is again to kind of uh, make sure that your information and the icon that's being interacted with align. So you can see here like if you hover over a particular location, the icon itself can grow and enlarge to make sure that we can sort of relate the information to the icon. Okay. And I wanted to breeze through that so that we can just get to any more questions because we do have them. So, Mira or Roman, Craig asked, are icon collisions handled by the Mapbox lib or do you need to add code? What happens when they collide? I said lib, but library.
Yeah, so Roman can add detail to this, but in this example, for example, we were using the symbol layer, so that has built-in collision detection that automatically detects text labels and icons uh, when they collide, so that automatically improves the way that this is handled. So that's one very good reason to opt for using the symbol layer because that's basically built in.
Okay, thank you. Roman did answer this one in the Q&A, so I don't know if we want to bring Roman back front stage, but can you change the elevation of pins on the 3D map, i.e., like have them float higher in the sky?
Yeah. As Roman said, you can use the kind of Z offset for those symbols that you want to elevate on the map so that they are higher to the sky or that they correlate with the buildings.
Okay. All right, next one. The SVG icons in this demo looked very clean, very sharp, but we've had some issues with SVG icons looking pretty grainy, using the suggested Maki icons. Are you doing anything specifically to make them not look grainy?
This is actually the vector icons because even if you were using SVG icons previously, that we did rasterize those, and that can result in that grainy outlook that you're talking about. So I'm gonna just quickly pull up the example that I'm gonna propose here. I'm gonna tag it here for everybody. The example is now in the documents for the vector icons. So I would propose that as an aid to your problem. Of course, if you have further issues, then do reach out because improving icon quality is very important to us and something that we're very interested in.
Awesome. Thank you. Those were the questions. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A. I'll give us just one more minute. And in the meantime, oh, okay. God, never mind. What about parts of buildings that are below surface level?
Mm,
I assume we're asking, Barina, maybe you could clarify, but I assume you're asking if there's a part of a building that's below surface level, where does the icon appear, and is there potentially some way to infer via the map that this icon is below surface level?
um, right now, we don't have this sort of sub level mm, sub-level indicators. Our map is kind of from the surface up. So of course we can indicate the whole building extrusion and then the location within that. We do have, I know that we have some interesting things around like you being able to bring, for example, your own 3D extrusions. Um, But unfortunately for that, like very specifically going below ground, we don't have a ready answer, but we can check if our other parts of our organization have more info on it and bring back a more detailed answer.
Yeah, and Mira, keep me honest here, but perhaps maybe a little bit of a hacky solution would be to use that Z offset just to indicate that like other POIs are above
Higher
that POI. But yeah, the initial like below ground level POI would still be, above
ground level.
slightly. Okay. Yeah, so like I was gonna say, one more minute if you have questions. In the meantime, I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone for joining us. Thank Mira for doing that demo. Always going live in a demo is a bit of a risk that something could go wrong, and that just went very smoothly. So awesome
No
job.
demo effect.
Yeah. And this is the last day of build, but there are still really many sessions happening for the remainder of the day, including some community sessions where customers are going to tell their story from their perspective without much input from Mapbox. So if you want to really hear it from the mouth of a customer, you can attend some of those sessions. Okay, we got no more questions. So with that, I'm gonna say thank you again, wrap this up, and Mira, if you want to say anything.
Yeah, thanks for my part as well. And we're excited to get to share the source code with you guys as well. So stay tuned.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you in future sessions.